Hello friends, I am Kamakshi Malik, faculty in the Department of Management, DAV College, Chandigarh. I shall be delivering lectures on human resource management. So today I shall be delivering a lecture on the concept, evolution, nature and scope of human resource management. So the learning outcome for today's lecture will be that we will get an insight into the concept of human resource management through various definitions in literature, various definitions given by various authors during the history of human resource management. Then we will also get an insight into the evolutionary journey of human resource management, which is a very interesting aspect of this subject, that how it evolved over time. We will also learn about the nature of human resource management, that is, what are the basic features of this concept, along with the scope of human resource management, that is, what all activities are involved in this process. So to begin with, I will ask you a question. Well, have you ever thought what is that one thing that differentiates one organization from the other? Is it the infrastructure, the capital investment that an organization puts in, or is it the technology? Well, it's none, but the people of that organization. People, often referred to as human resource, are the key enablers of growth and a vital differentiator in today's competitive world. Here I quote Rennie West. She says, "You can have the best strategy, the best building in the world, but if you don't have the hearts and minds of the people who work with you, none of it comes to life," thereby emphasizing on the importance of people for an organization. Now coming to the basic question, that what is the concept of human resource management? What actually is human resource management? So if I state in very simple words, it is the concept of putting the right number of right people at the right place at the right time for achieving the objectives of an organization. So the keywords are not only the right number and the right place, but the right people also. Means they must be having the competencies and the skills that are required by an organization at that particular point of time. So let's have a look at some definitions of human resource management. Ivancevich and Gloic state it as, it is concerned with the most effective use of people to achieve organizational and individual goals. It is the way of managing people at work so that they give their best to the organization. So this definition talks of how people can help an organization achieve its goals. So it emphasizing on how the organization, by managing people at work, can achieve its goals. The second definition is a more comprehensive one. It was given by Flippo, and it states that human resource management is the planning, the organizing, directing and controlling of the procurement, development, compensation, integration, maintenance and reproduction of human resources to the end that individual, organizational and societal objectives are accomplished. So this definition talks about the various functions of management like planning, organizing and directing related to the human resource aspect, and it also emphasizes on how human resources help in achieving not only the individual goals but also organizational as well as the societal objectives. So, this is a more comprehensive definition, I would say. The third definition that I will discuss here was given by Gary Dessler. He says that HRM comprises of the policies and practices involved in carrying out the people or the human resource aspects of a management position, including recruiting, screening, training, rewarding and appraising. So, here he lays emphasis on the policy making and designing practices by the organization which helps in the attainment of organizational goals. Now, after going through these definitions of human resource management, we must now understand that how this concept came into its current form. That is, what is the evolutionary journey of human resource management. The journey is divided into three broad stages depending on the functions that were performed by the human resource management. Namely, first was the personal functions, the industrial relations, and lastly the human resource management. So, let us discuss each one of them. The personal functions, the jobs were mostly administrative, like giving the offer letters to the employees, giving them termination letters, accepting their resignations, giving them experience certificates when they were leaving the organization. So, it was more of clerical work that was involved in the personal functions. It also maintained the compliance related documentation. Then wages and bonus related policies were also maintained through documents in the personal functions. The second was the industrial relations. So, due to formation of trade unions and threats of strikes lamenting, the HR evolved as an industrial relations expert, thereby facilitating negotiations and relationship building between the management and employee and management and the union. So, now apart from performing the personal functions, now it were performing the function of an industrial relations expert, thereby facilitating negotiations and building relationships. The current form is the HR management function. So, apart from recruitment, selection, training and appraising the human resources, this department also looks after engaging and motivating the people of the organization. That is, how you can make them passionate workers, how you can enhance their enthusiasm for work, how you can motivate them to come to the organization and work to the best of their abilities. Then providing them safe and secure, conducive work environment, and developing people through training. And when people are developed, naturally the organization itself develops. So, it talks of people development along with organizational development. Now, a very pertinent question arises in the arena of human resource management, that is personnel management and the human resource management functions same or is it different? Many authors feel that human resource management is just like a old wine in a new bottle. So, let us discuss some differences in personnel management and human resource management. So, whether they are same or they are different, but I would say that they are different. Let us have a look at this slide. So, the approach of personnel management was traditional, whereas the approach of human resource management is new and modern. The nature of personnel management was routine functions were involved, whereas the human resource management has become more strategic now, whereby the goals of the human resource management have to be aligned with the goals of the organization. So, the focus of personnel management was on efficient management of the people only, Whereas in human resource management, we talk of individual needs, we talk of developing human values and how these can be attained and how these can be used for the betterment or success of the organization. Next, the remuneration basis of personnel management was job evaluation, where the job was evaluated. A tough job would get a better remuneration, an easier job would get a lower remuneration. Whereas the remuneration basis for human resource management is performance evaluation. So here we are not evaluating the job, but we are evaluating the person. That is, the person's performance is evaluated, and on the basis of that performance we are giving the remuneration. So the function is concerned in personnel management, it was limited to personnel administration, labor relation and at times employee welfare. Whereas in human resource management, the functions are, I would say, acquiring, developing, utilizing and retaining human resources. So we are not limiting ourselves just to recruitment, because we have to develop the people, we have to make optimum utilization of those people, and we have to try and retain them and engage them so that they can work efficiently for the betterment of the organization. Now, if we talk of the orientation of personnel management, it was more control and direction oriented, more emphasis on discipline. Whereas if we talk of human resource management, it is more development oriented. And when I say development, development means the development of the employee, of the departments and the overall development of the organization. So that is how the personnel management is different from human resource management. So next is the evolutionary journey of human resource management. So how it evolved over time, the history of human resource management. So here you can see that there are 9 phases: the industrial revolution era, trade unions, the social responsibility, scientific management, human relations, behavioral science, systems approach, HR management and human capital management. So the classification of various stages shows the beginning of that era, and in each era a particular approach of managing people at work has been emphasized upon, and a succeeding era does not mean that there is a complete end of the preceding era, but you can see that there has been some overlapping in these eras. So let's begin with the Industrial Revolution era. It began in the 1850s in the Western Europe and the United States of America. So now what happened during Industrial Revolution was that large number of factories came up. So the workers who were earlier working in their agricultural farms or working on handicrafts now started working in factories. So the focus on agrarian and handicrafts now shifted to factories and machines, and the people who were working for themselves were now working for rich factory owners who exploited them immensely, because the focus of these owners was on maximizing their profits and not on the welfare of the people working for them. And the philosophy of managing workers revolved around master-servant relationship. So the employees or the workers were considered to be servants, and the owner and worker relationship was that of a master and servant. So there was a deplorable condition of the employees. So now the autonomy and self-management of the workers was replaced by strict supervision. the flexible work hours that the workers earlier enjoyed when they were working for themselves was shifted to tough and long working hours. They were earlier working at home in small informal groups, but now they were working in large formal noisy workplaces that were unhygienic and not conducive to be worked at. So, during the Industrial Revolution era, two approaches came up. First was the commodity approach, where the workers were considered as a commodity or a product with least importance given to, of course, the welfare of workers. Nobody was concerned about their welfare. And second was the factor of production, similar to commodity approach. So, all the factors were given equal consideration, like the land or the equipment. So, no special importance was given to the labor. Now, due to the immense exploitation of workers in the Industrial Revolution era, the workers gradually started to organize themselves into associations which were known as trade unions based on their common interests, and that marked the beginning of the trade union era. So, the objective of these trade unions was to safeguard the interest of the members, solve the problems of child labor, long working hours and poor working conditions that the workforce had to face. These unions used strikes, walkouts, boycotts, etc. as a weapon for the acceptance of their demands. So, the outcome of the trade union era was that now the organizations were forced to adopt employee grievance handling. They undertook arbitration between managers and workers so as to solve any kind of conflict between a manager and a worker. They introduced employee benefit programs. They gave vacation time. Then there was clear definition of job duties, and they also incorporated a rational wage structure. So, that were the outcomes of the trade union era. The third and very important phase of human resource management is the social responsibility era. It was introduced by Robert Owen in England during the early 20th century. Robert Owen himself was a textile manufacturer, and he had his own industry, and he realized the pathetic condition of the workers that were working in such factories during the Industrial Revolution. So, he gave two aspects of human resource management. The first was the paternalistic approach or aspect, second was humanitarian aspect. So, if we talk of paternalistic, it is based on the philosophy that labor is just like a child and the owner is like a father. So, just as a father takes care of his child, similarly the owner must take care of the workers who are working for his company or organization. So, Owen himself made some amendments. So, he offered several concessions and facilities to the labor, like reduced number of work hours, improved facilities at workplace, which led to the development of social welfare aspect of labor management. So, that was the first time that somebody was thinking about the social welfare of the management, of the labor basically. The second was the humanitarian approach, where it was believed that employees had undeniable rights as human beings and employer must protect these rights. That is, before being an employee, an employee is a human being first, and it is the duty of the employer to protect their rights. He also felt that to improve the productivity, the physical, the social and the psychological needs of these employees must be met. So now the emphasis was on group dynamics and security rather than the money that was being offered to the people. So these schemes were, however, a compulsion rather than the welfare of the organization. So next is the scientific management approach. This is again a very revolutionary approach, I would say. It was introduced by F.W. Taylor in the United States of America during the early 20th century. Taylor himself was a mechanical engineer, and while working he realized that the managers and supervisors themselves do not know much about how a job is performed. So he came up with the scientific management approach that ensures that all activities are completed in a systematic and a scientific manner with the objective of gaining higher productivity, reduced cost and waste elimination. So this theory or this aspect of human resource management was characterized by the following features. The first one being that it replaced the rule of thumb, that is, it discarded the old techniques and adopted the new and modern techniques of doing a work. So it aimed to improve the efficiency of the employees. He also emphasized that by changing the attitude of employee and employer towards scientifically working, they both realized adopting this would lead to higher productivity. So it is beneficial for all. So he emphasized that by dividing each work into various small parts, each part being allotted to the person who is an expert in it, thereby emphasizing on scientific selection and placement of workers, leading to harmonious and cordial relationships among workers. So some significant contributions of Taylor are time study, whereby he measured the time taken to perform each job. So he did it repetitively so as to standardize the time taken to perform one job. Then he gave the motion study, whereby he studied the body movements at workplace, that is, while performing a particular task, what body movements are involved. So he observed that there were some movements that were repetitive. So he eliminated those movements and thereby reduced the wasteful motions. He also standardized the equipments, the tools and simplified work. Then he also introduced differential incentive plan, that is, the incentive given to the people should be based on their performances, thereby improving the efficiency of the workers. Then came the human relations era from 1925 to 1950, which was an outcome of the Hawthorne experiments conducted by Elton Mayo and his associates at Western Electric Chicago in the USA. He emphasized upon the fact that a person is diversely motivated and psychological factors play a more important role in their motivation. So he concluded that the productivity of workers depend on social factors at the workplace. So people form groups and these groups have influence on their productivity. He also emphasized on the nature of leadership. So if there is informal leadership, less of supervision is there, the productivity of the workers would enhance. If there is good communication between the leader and the workers and among workers per se, their productivity will improve. So it was characterized by emphasis on the use of psychology in recruitment, selection and training of employees. So now the organizations were considered to be social systems and not anything that is working in isolation. Then informal leadership was given emphasis, and employees were considered as groups and not as mere individuals, and these employees, when working in groups, they adhere to group norms. So, I will take a quick recap of what we did. We discussed about the concept of human resource management up till now through various definitions of how in history various authors have given various definitions of human resource management and how it has been associated to organizational goals. We also discussed the difference between personnel management and human resource management, and we also studied about the evolutionary journey of human resource management from Industrial Revolution. So, I shall be continuing further. Thank you.